Good evening, everybody, and it's 8 o'clock here Wednesday night in Las Vegas, which means it's time to grind. That also means it's time for the American Mind Grind. Please welcome to the booth right now your host, Eric, Jeff, and Matt, everybody.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the American Mind Grind. We're going to give the phone number out. We're going to give you the phone number to start the show here at 702-483-4444. We're going to make a quick announcement that we won't be taking any calls in the last 10 minutes of any of our shows. So if you're going to call in, make sure you do it between now and around the midpoint mark. Eric, Matt, welcome back. Did you have a good week, buddy?
I did. I want to give a special shout out to my Thursday night pool team. We just broke fourth place, and for the first 4 weeks of the season, we were shooting with a substitute. So we're closing in fast on first, and let's get them, boys.
Right on.
Very nice. How's your Tuesday night team doing?
Good. We won last night too.
Awesome.
Yeah. So we picked up a win there, and we're just starting to get things rolling there as well. So
nice, bro.
Yeah.
Coming along, aren't you? You got some potential.
It's a good thing about sports. You're never out until it's over.
Until fat lady
the
sings,
season's
buddy.
over. You start out sluggish and make a run in the end.
That's exactly right.
My week was supposed to be bad, but because of the people in my life, it turned out pretty good. I had a broken window on my right passenger side door, and you know what a pain that can be. Took it to my boy Jimmy Lee over at International Auto, who takes care of all of my auto needs, and he totally took care of it, got me in my rental car. Combination of him and Misty at Allstate, my insurance, took care of everything like it didn't even happen. So
that's great.
Want to send a shout out to them. Jimmy Lee, International Auto Paint and Body. He's over on 4350 Arville Street. His phone number is 702-871-8717. And Misty at Allstate's in good hands with Misty Chadwick over there at 702-451-4409. If you want to be hooked up with either one of those two, find me on Facebook, call me, whatever.
You know, Jeff, what comes to mind this weekend, I had a friend of mine that was working at a bar here in town. Somebody broke into her car, took the temperature control, took the stereo, took the ignition, and I don't know if it was like a personal thing or it was a random act, but at the end of the day, her car's completely screwed. It's like totaled, you know what I mean? It's not worth particularly a lot of money. And I want everyone out there to know you should definitely consider getting a comprehensive car insurance as opposed to getting like just liability. If you own a car outright, everyone always is like, oh, then I can save $5 a month, pull it off of there. But when something like this happens, my friend, she now she's got no car. She gets no money from the insurance company. And what do you do? And what it comes down to me is like if I own a car outright and I'm going to take the comprehensive endorsement off of my policy, well, I want to be really careful and make sure that I have enough money to go buy a car tomorrow, you know what I mean, in reserves. So for those of you who own a car outright and you've got liability only, call your agent, somebody like Missy Chadwick over at Allstate, and add the comprehensive. It's only a very small percentage more, a couple bucks, to have that peace of mind.
Yeah, and when something happens, you're glad you did. Like, they put me right in a rental car. They left my check with Jimmy to give to me when I go back and pick up my truck. I mean,
look how convenient that is.
The customer service is just awesome. It's awesome. I wish everyone did business that way.
One last thing, renter's insurance also. If you rent a place, I've had friends come in, to the bar and stuff like that. They're like, "Oh, Eric, somebody broke in. They took my Xbox. They took my TV. They took my stereo. They took all the things I own and I cherish in the whole wide world." I'm like, "Do you have a renter's insurance?" They're like, "What's that?" I'm like, "I don't know. It's a policy that costs like about $12 a month."
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right. You
might want to consider that. Well, a lot of communities now require it. They require you to get renter's insurance if you're going to sign a lease with them.
So you can't go after them?
Well, yeah, probably so. Yeah, so that way they know you have coverage, and in the event something happens, well, you call it in your your local office, and then they put out a claim, and then you get paid for it, and you can get your stuff back.
Right on.
So-
Right on. Insurance, something you pay for, you hope you never use, but you can sleep good at night knowing they had it. What about you, Eric? What'd you do this week?
Well, Saturday we had a wonderful time at the bar that I work at. I don't know if a lot of you know that I bartend here in town at a little local joint. Anyway, we celebrated Randy's birthday. Randy's a good friend of ours, and we had a wonderful time. We had an unbelievable crowd, man. There was like 60 people there.
I showed up.
Oh, yeah, it was crazy. It was like a football game in there.
I wish I could have been there. I was working, but again, happy birthday, belated birthday, Randy.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Congratulations, and hopefully many, many more for you, my friend. Okay, and then yesterday I decided to go see a movie as it was suggested to me by Jeff. We love movies on the show, guys. We're going to try to give you everything that we would consider to be either an individual performance that's worthy of an Academy Award or a movie that might be considered for Best Picture. And we've always been on the movies, so we do have a movie aspect to the show. A couple weeks ago we did Straight Outta Compton with NWA, and that was a terrific movie. All of us agree to that. All three of us have seen it. Anyway, I saw Southpaw yesterday with Jake Gyllenhaal, one of my favorite actors. You guys agree?
Yeah, oh yeah. Especially after this one. He's insane.
Oh yeah, he's ripped in this movie. I mean, he becomes the part. You know what I mean? Anyway, he's 34 years old, and for those of you who are not familiar with his work, Donnie Darko, Jarhead, great movie that he was in, Nightcrawler last year, Prisoners the year before in 2013, and he was nominated. The only time he actually got a nomination for Best Actor was in 2006 for Bareback Mountain.
Really?
Yeah, I mean Brokeback Mountain.
Yeah.
Well, if you saw it, it was Bareback
Mountain.
when he was raped.
Still haven't seen that yet.
Yeah.
Skip it.
Yeah. Save yourself.
You don't need that in your brain.
It was pretty uncomfortable. That's a fact. Anyway, so he's only gotten actually one nod. I'm surprised he didn't get it last year for Nightcrawler. The movie was good. I liked the movie. His individual performance was outstanding. His physical transformation was incredible. Nothing short of incredible. In fact, it was the most transforming I've ever seen physically, other than like American History X with Ed Norton. I mean, he was that ripped. You know what I mean? I'm sure you guys remember that one. So after that, I was online today and just checking out things. In Hollywood, Hollywood's going crazy right now because Netflix, which we all have, I assume all of us subscribe to that.
Absolutely.
Like, almost everyone on Earth has a Netflix account, and a lot of people are starting to cut cables. You know what I mean? They're like, no more, I'm not going to pay $150 a month for cable TV anymore because Netflix does it for $7.99. I can watch stuff all day, all night, 24 hours a day, forever. So anyway, it turns out Netflix is now starting to crank out full-length feature films, like the big studios. And their first one is going to be coming out in October the 16th, and it's called Beasts of No Nation. And it stars Idris Elba and Abraham Adda. And basically, it's about an 11-year-old kid in West Africa that's recruited by a warlord to do murderous, horrible war crimes against other regimes in West Africa. And the buzz is at Hollywood is that Netflix is going to see that movie actually reach the finals for Movie of the Year and go up for the Academy Award.
Wow, that's huge.
Isn't that neat?
That is.
So now they're changing the way we did TV, and now they're changing the way we do movies. So you can watch it at home on your computer October 16th when it's released, or you can go to the movies and watch it on the big screen. Now, they say this movie lends itself very well to the big screen because there's like really beautiful things to see in regards to like the African geography, other than, of course, people cutting each other's heads off with machetes.
I thought you were going to say
it's
the
really
violence.
kind of cool. Aside from the beheading and war crimes and stuff like that, it's actually a beautiful place aesthetically. So I wanted to bring that to your guys' attention. I hope you guys check it out. October 16th, Beasts of No Nation by Netflix original movie.
Interesting. Yeah, we were talking about Southpaw and how real the shots in the ring looked, more than almost any boxing movie that I had seen. And as you're saying, that they're going to really focus on the scenery and stuff, and that movie might be a good one to go see in the theater as opposed to seeing it at home.
I'm sorry, Jeff. Boxing movies is a big franchise.
Yeah, oh yeah.
You know what I mean? 3 times a boxing movie has won the Academy Award for Best Film. You had Rocky, $1 Million Baby, and you also had there was one other one that won it as well. Oh, Raging Bull.
Raging Bull.
Raging Bull. Yeah.
And
So-
you were talking about Ali earlier. That
Yeah,
one,
I'm surprised.
that was
that was a
another one that
fabulous
could have
movie.
been.
It was nominated.
Was it?
And Will Smith was nominated for Best Actor for it.
It's a great movie
Great
there.
role.
My
Right.
personal favorite's The Fighter. You
Yeah.
know that Marky Mark and Christian Bale. I mean, it was real factual. It was like a really cool story. It was real. I mean, the real story of Mickey Ward. You know what I mean? So cool.
Marky Mark's up there. If he's in a movie, I like to see it too. There's not too many. We were talking earlier too. Not too many actors that are great these days. I have to put him in that category.
Marky Mark is terrific.
Yeah, I love when he's in a movie.
You better believe it, man. Lone Survivor, that was pretty intense, man. That was pretty intense. My favorite these days is Leo. Leo is just...
He's the top.
He's on the money, man. To me, he's like the absolute A-list male actor there is. I mean, Depp's coming out with Black Mass, and certainly we want to also let you guys know that we will do a full review of Black Mass as it's considered to be one of the top movies of this year. It comes out on Friday. Thursday are having screenings, and then we'll bring it to you probably next week or the week after.
So watch it before the show because we're going to be talking about it.
You
we
can
don't want
call
to
in
ruin
and
it
talk
for
about
you.
it. Absolutely. All right.
So,
cool.
yeah, I mean, movies are really becoming more realistic, and it seems like these days things that are happening in real life are more like things you'd see in the movies, like the African stuff that happens over in Africa, or people beheading people or shot in classrooms.
It's worse than fiction, bro.
It's worse. It's more
worse
than you could ever imagine. The fires up north. Have you seen how bad those have gotten?
Unbelievable, spectacular, sensational videos coming from this.
Yeah. If you haven't seen the videos, go online and
God.
check them out and watch some of the videos. Cities are just. They're not burning down; they're exploding. They're like, you can hear every 10 minutes something just going off, exploding. And there's, I mean, the fires are all the way from San Bernardino up the coast to Oregon.
How many miles did it cover? Did you
I don't know the
that?
miles, but I do know that 7 million acres have burned. There's over 100 fires that are burning out of control. Some of them, like the ones up north, they just can't even contain. They're just like just let them freely burn until they burn out. So.
It's a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week effort right now. People are leaving their regular jobs and suiting up and getting on the lines. I mean, it is unbelievable. I mean, and it's getting dangerous, too. It's not off in the woods where you don't know about it. This is now coming into regular residential areas and destroying people's homes. I think the total loss currently is 600 homes.
Yeah, there's 6,000 residents.
Total loss.
Are their homes are threatened. This was yesterday. I don't even know what's happening right now as we speak. But 6,000 residents in the Sierra Nevada blaze, that their homes are threatened. They're pretty much writing them off, saying that they're gone. So
wow,
it's pretty insane. So I mean, I just can't even imagine. You're just coming home one day and your house is on fire, and they told them you should be okay, and then they're like, okay, get out. Yep. And they're on their porch and there's a fire coming at them. And I saw some of the footage on the northern fires that they have tornadoes that are fire tornadoes that start in the middle of them. I couldn't imagine being one of those firefighters. And like you said, these guys have regular jobs that are just living up in the woods. And,
volunteers.
And they're out there volunteering to fight the fires.
Save their communities.
It's a dangerous job. And so...
Our thoughts and prayers go out to everyone that's involved, not only the people that are being affected by it, but the people that are fighting these fires, man. We really appreciate your efforts. To me, you're every bit a hero as anything else I've ever known.
Absolutely.
So it's wonderful.
Absolutely. Good luck up there fighting the fires.
Yeah, hopefully next week we can have an update that they're somewhat under control and or taken care of.
My thoughts are for sure to them. My prayers I'm not so sure about. Why do we say that? Our thoughts and prayers.
That's a good point.
Because if God was so good, then why did He make the fires in the first place?
Maybe it was the devil.
Well, that's a long conversation, Jeff. That you want to go there, man. Wow. We have another 3 hours here.
My thoughts and prayers are going that God helps me hit my 3-team parlay this
How
Sunday.
about my well wishes go there?
That's what I like to say.
Can you live with that?
I'm thinking about you.
I don't want to offend you.
I hope
by
it turns
all
out good.
It's mostly slang. I really think about it.
Right, I know.
Jesus.
I went to say it too.
I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight now. You got me all screwed up.
Call me later. We'll have a whole conversation.
Yeah, sorry about that. You're right, man. Prayers. What the hell? Good point.
Okay, so up in Washington, they set a record for over 990,000 acres of burned. That's up north in Washington, right on the border, kind of where I'm from, up in the Seattle area. So, other things are burning up in Seattle, like the school year is burning up there. They're not attending school.
Yeah, I heard about this, right?
They're on strike, the teacher strike up there. 5,000 teachers walked off the job on the first day of school.
Yeah, and they still haven't come back to work, right?
No, it's still in
they're negotiating.
Like I said, as we speak, it's still going on. So unless they've come up with something real recent.
Imagine this, guys. You're living in Seattle. You're a mom and dad. You've got full-time jobs. You are going to get your kids the backpacks and get ready, do your little list like I talked about a couple weeks ago, and then you're ready to drop them off at school, and there ain't no one there.
Yeah.
What do you do?
Yeah.
And do you know how much daycare is these days?
And you got to go to
like
work.
a family of like 2 or 3 kids. Could you imagine how much? It's like $300-400 a kid per week all around daycare, like from say 6, 7 in the morning to about 5, 6 at night. Oh my goodness, the financial burden. Not only that, but if there's 5,000 teachers out, could you imagine the facilities that will do the daycare for you?
Yeah,
this is a disaster.
That's where you go there and
area
start a
out there.
daycare.
This is a disaster area.
Start a daycare business in Seattle because you know it's going to be huge if they don't figure this out soon. I mean, think of how many people called in sick for work that day.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
your life is one of the two parents. If you have a 2-parent family, not to mention the single mom, she's just fucked,
pulling her hair out.
She's just fucked. You know what I mean?
All week.
If you have mom and dad, at least one of them could probably lose their job. You know,
it's 100,
terminate their employment.
100 schools and 53,000 students.
Oh my God, yeah. For those of you who didn't know this story, I mean, it's really big. You know, I mean, this is a real big problem up there, and basically it's all about money, I assume, right?
Well, yeah, the wages, the hours. They wanted to add another half hour to the end of the school day and not pay the teachers extra for it, and they want to introduce a whole job performance system that hits the pocketbook depending on how the kids test.
Right, regardless of the parents' participation, of course.
Right, just. Okay, that kid failed, so we're not going to give you your bonus.
Right.
And so I guess during the recession, there was a lot of talks about they didn't get any raises, that they're going to hold out the money, and when things even out, we're going to make it up to you, we promise.
Yep.
Well, they offered them a raise, a very small raise, and they weren't happy with it. So
I think people have to start thinking about this a little differently, a different perspective, okay? You send your child to this person 5 days a week for 9 months a year. They are the most influential person aside from yourself and or your wife or husband that these people have in their lives. And to be mistreated and not be paid for their professionalism and the education and them taking the time out to learn and to get certified and to go back to school. There's no, like in Clark County, if you go back to school, okay, and you get more endorsements, like if you go back to get more education, they don't give you step raises anymore. They took it away.
Oh, that's gone.
That's gone.
Wow.
That's gone. They took it
So
away.
there's no incentive. Then why would you do it?
Took it away. They've made all kinds of adjustments to employment for teachers. These are the people that need to be paid. It's a hazardous job these days, you know, especially with people's behavior. And you've seen school shootings, and they are on the front lines of this, and they should be treated with more respect, and they should be paid like professionals.
Well, the cost of living, one of the biggest things that they're striking about is in 7 years they haven't had a cost of living raise, and the cost of living in Seattle has gone through the ceiling.
Oh, it's an expensive city.
So the teachers are pretty much at the point where they have to look for another job if they're not going to be compensated to live in Seattle and live in that expensive place without getting the proper raise. So it's they're going to have a hard time coming to grips on it. If the money's not there, it's not there. But the school district can't just say, okay, we're going to give it to you.
So their monthly residual bills is now exceeding their salaries.
Right, they're going backwards.
You know, that's a terrible thing. You know, every teacher I know here locally, they're usually broke.
Oh yeah, or working
they never
another
have
job.
Money, man.
Right.
They are just on the edge. They go paycheck to paycheck. I mean, these people should have futures and nice pensions and medical care, and they should get everything that the highest level get. You know,
well,
based
and
on
it used to be. You just hit on it that they're taking things away. And I mean, people back in the day when I would hear a teacher gripe, and I used to be with one, so I know. And she worked hard to supplement her income because she got out of school at 3 o'clock. She could take another job at night. The summer she had off. She tutored during the summer and waited tables. She always had plenty of money. And one of the biggest things was benefits. She would stay on because of the benefits. So she's out of school at 3 o'clock. Weekends and holidays always off, paid. Summers off. So I was kind of like, and she even laughed about it. Where kind of like you kind of have it good. You know, but now that they take that away, and she had kept continuing education as you were speaking of, so she kept on getting pay raises every year, and everything was set. Now it's not so much anymore. I mean, Ethan's got a big deal going tomorrow, right?
Yeah. Thank you guys, the people that are closest to me, and the boys here. The well wishing that's been coming is pretty overwhelming. Thank you guys so much for considering what my family's going through. My son is having a repaired hernia, basically. I wasn't even going to bring it to the show, but I feel like it's important and it's integral to what we're discussing here tonight. So I'll bring the details out. It's a little bit more complicated than the typical circumcision, you know what I mean? Like in regards to scale or scope of work. He's got a testicle that didn't drop into his scrotum. So what they have to do is go into the hernia sac, remove it from there and drop it into the scrotum. And this is happening tomorrow morning. Now, back in the day, Now, this is a pretty routine procedure. He does go under general anesthesia. And for those of you that are parents, I know you know what I mean. When your child goes under, there's always a serious amount of anxiety. You know, it's been hard on me, and it's been hard on his mom and stuff like that. But with that said, now back in the day, we would have had to pay copays to 3 things. We would have had to pay a copay to the hospital, a copay to the anesthesiologist, and a copay to the urologist that's performing the surgery. But now, Clark County School District changed on June 1st. Now they pay 20% of the total bill. So out of pocket, okay, this is costing $630 to the hospital. $880 to the urologist, and an additional $700 to anesthesiologist. So our contribution, which is only 20%, is like about $2,000 in cash, and they want their money up front before he goes and gets admitted to the hospital. You understand? Now, what teacher out there has 2 G's sitting in her bedstand, ready to go drop the following day on her own son to get the medical care that he needs?
Not many that I know.
That's the problem. That's the goddamn problem with this whole thing, is that we're not giving them enough money, and that's why people are they're leaving Las Vegas and other places that's not paying them the proper amount of money. I mean, this is a problem, guys. This is a big time problem, and
not to mention that, I mean, teachers are getting shot at. Like, the things that are going on in high school now,
Yep.
and it's trickling down even to the younger ages. Geez, I mean, we even talked about the situation you're familiar with, where the teacher tried to tell the girl to sit down and behave, and she told her F you, and
I'll tell you the whole story.
Yeah, like,
she said, "Go sit down at your seat." She said, "Fuck you," and you know, I'll give a fuck what you say. And then the teacher, who I'm pretty familiar with, said something like, "I'm gonna call home." She goes, "I don't give a shit. My mom doesn't care." Wow. And then what happens is, in an event like that, they send them off to get RPC, which is a required parent conference. Okay, the acronym RPC,
Right.
Required Parent Conference. And what happens is nothing. Nothing. A kid that says "fuck you" to your teacher 2 days later will be back in your goddamn classroom. No lie. What happens is the parent comes in. It's a 10-minute protocol. 10 minutes. You discuss it. Hey, your kid said "fuck you" to the teacher. What do you think? Well, I think that's pretty shitty. Right. But there's really nothing I can do. My kid's a bad seed. What do you want me to do? Like, you want me to put him at daycare or what? No, that's not required. So we'll put him back in school, he or she back in school, and 2 days later he or she are back in the classroom. It's a disgrace.
Discipline is such a... Go ahead, Madam Sir.
No, I'm trying to flash back to about a month ago, 6 weeks ago. Weren't they giving $5,000 to any new teacher that signed up, but they don't have money to give the teachers that are actually doing good jobs, merit-based pay and stuff like that?
Well, that's how desperate they are for teachers. I mean, it wasn't long ago they shipped them in from the Philippines. We are so desperate for teachers.
Wow.
And that's why it's kind of what we're talking about. Who wants to be a teacher?
Bottom line, if I was a female or a guy and I just got out of college or whatever, I'd probably consider becoming like a bartender or a valet parker. I mean, we're here in Las Vegas.
Here in Vegas, for sure.
It's a little different here in Vegas. But for a girl, I could serve cocktails, work in the union, get $30 an hour, have a pension, have long-term disability care, long-term health care. And listen to this, guys. I'll tell you the real kicker here. In some parts of the country, when you're done working, you give your whole life to educate other people's kids, you get health care forever. Like... Esma's mom gets health care forever because she worked in Alaska as an educator. Now here, if you're say you work for 25, 30 years, and the day that you stop your employment, you have no longer health care here. What do you think of that? You give your life, your entire adult life, to educating other people's children, and then the day that you're probably going to need that health care when you're in your 50s and 60s and 70s, it's not there for you. You're on Medicaid.
Wow.
Now that's a real problem.
So the answer that the government comes in or the school system tries to come in and says, okay, well, we're going to hold teachers to a higher standard. If we're going to pay them more, we're going to hold them to a higher standard. And that's what they're saying up north in Seattle, was part of your bonus is going to be based on how the kids test. Well, what kind of brought up this whole conversation when we were talking about it was that SATs, we failed again for the 5th year straight. This continues a 10-year slide of our kids are unable to pass the SATs. So, in my opinion, they're not learning what we're teaching them. And also, in my opinion, what we're teaching them is a bunch of crap. Like, who cares how to cut open a frog, or
unless
what
you're going to become a biologist,
class species it's from, or
Absolutely.
y equals mx plus b is slope. I know all that, and I struggled with all that. And I know it because I was horrible in science and algebra.
Yep.
Horrible.
Yep.
And I was good at history and English and reading and the things that I really, really liked and that I should have been pushed into, that I might do this as a future, as a career, were ignored and put aside. Oh, A's and B's, you're fine there. C's, D's, F's. I'm going to focus 24/7 hours a day on the things you're bad at. And in my opinion, that's setting up a kid to fail. Like, let's let those things slide. You're obviously not going to be in accounting. You're not going to be a
scientist, yeah,
like, and
a surgeon or something like that.
I've had a lot of jobs, and I've made a lot of sales in my life, and we've all been in sales.
Yep.
No one's ever once asked me, "Hey, man, how do you figure out slope?"
Yeah.
Not in one interview, not in one job
Yep.
sale, or what class, phylum, species is a frog. Never, not once have I used this knowledge. I wish they would teach me how to balance a checkbook, how to invest in the stock market, how to get a job, keep a job,
you
get
know what was
promoted in a
suggested
job,
to me
run
today?
a business.
How about have a whole class on social skills?
Right,
Oh,
Where
yeah.
that's
you
what I'm saying.
relate
Right.
to other people in your community, in your classroom, and have mutual respect for each other. And that is something that needs, you can replace goddamn English class, as far as I'm concerned, with something like that. Because social intelligence and social skills is a very marketable ability. And the thing is you're learning about Abraham Lincoln signing some stupid document, you know what I mean? And these things are very important for our history, for our country's history, and I know it's important for them to know that. But at the end of the day, balancing a checkbook, being able to secure work, having a marketable skill, a trade, is very, very important, and it would decrease crime, because when people are desperate and they can't secure work, what are they going to do? They have to survive. They have a survival instinct, and they're going to have to do something desperate to put food on their table and to get money in their pockets. That's the problem here. You know, I mean, that is the real problem. Is what we're teaching in the schools is just, it's just outdated. It needs to be revamped.
You're right on that, and the have one class, history class, and teach them about the Constitution and how our country was founded, and get over it.
Yep.
You should take history one time.
Yep.
And they should be able to cram that into your head. Anything else you want to know, pick up your phone and ask Siri.
Yep.
It's all right there. Like,
This is how we became a wonderful country. Here it is.
Right.
And that's that.
Now let's prepare you for your adulthood.
Now, what do you want to be when you grow up? And don't tell me it's a football player, because it's 1 in 100,000 million, dude.
I'm a huge proponent for trade skills. Start teaching these kids trades as a young adolescent adult.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
work them into that, so when they turn 18, they're ready to join the workforce.
I mean,
and
we were
be
talking
a
there-
productive member of society.
Right, and it's almost like having experience. Like, we weren't out in the real world doing it, but at trade school, say you're a mechanic and you're working on actual cars, people's cars, and by the time you graduate, you can go into a place like, I have experience, I worked on a whole bunch of cars, and here's a piece of paper saying that I'm certified, hire me. And you know, like, going back, my child would be ready to open up his own garage. I would teach him how to manage the books, how to work QuickBooks,
Yep.
you know, how the taxes work, how you pay your employees, that kind of stuff that you have to learn on the fly when you're out in the world. I just wish someone had taught me in school, because I'd be in a lot better place right now. We were talking about trade schools just the other day.
That's
Your friend,
exactly right. Russ Ogilvy, who did all of our logo work and made all those edits and did a wonderful job. Thanks again, Russ. You're a great guy,
Thank
man.
you, Russ. Love
I
the
enjoyed
logo.
spending time with you too, man. Here's the deal. He works over at Crescent Bartending School, Bartending and Gaming, okay? And they're located at 4180 South Sand Hill Road. The phone number there is 702-458-9910. And what Crescent is an accredited learning institution. So you can apply for Pell Grants. You can apply for financial aid. Okay, and it teaches you a very marketable skill specific to the Las Vegas market. They also have schools in Biloxi, Mississippi, places that have gaming and hotel operations, you know what I mean? So instead of maybe getting a degree, say, in history, the softest science on planet Earth, you know, that you get out and you're like, oh, I guess I'll get a job waiting tables, you know what I mean? Instead of doing that, you can go for a class and you can learn how to bartend in 3 weeks. I'm not quite sure the duration of the time to learn the entire gaming industry, but you want to talk about a wonderful career. My friend John, my buddy John Z, he works at the Cosmo. Pension. He gets very good wages over at the Cosmopolitan. He, even when he takes his vacations, he gets shares of the tokes anyway, the tips and stuff like that. Even when he's not even there,
When he's not even in the building.
absolutely,
Right.
he has tip share rights there. You know, I mean, they treat him with respect. They created the EDR for them to eat. The wages are great. The insurance is terrific. You know, I mean, that's a marketable skill and a viable industry that's continuing to grow. and Crescent Bartending and Gaming is a wonderful place. And if you guys ever want to, consider going there and attending school there, give Russ Ogilvie a call there. Again, the phone number is 702-458-9910. And by the way, I have a hotel degree from UNLV, which was considered the very best school in the country at the time that I went and graduated. And I'm bartending, man. I could save 30 goddamn grand, and I would have been on the job in 3 weeks, for heaven's sakes, doing what I'm doing currently.
That's my biggest point on it, is if you go see Russ, you're going to come out with a skill and a lot less time of going to university and a lot less debt and a job.
Yep.
More of a guarantee.
By the way,
of a
they
job.
do job placement assistance, just so you know.
See?
So it's financial aid is available, Pell Grants are available, they're fully accredited, and they do job placement as well.
We have to change the way that we're doing education.
Yep.
It has to change.
I
it has to go that direction.
I'm going to be a history teacher.
I'm
sorry.
Yeah.
I'm going to get my history degree, and I'm going to start busting tables, I think, at a really cool restaurant.
That's the way it goes.
I had a great awakening too when I was going to college. I was like, why am I doing this? I'm just racking up student loan debt, and I just dropped out. I mean, I'm a proud college dropout, and I work in sales. I make pretty good money for what I do, and I'm good at it, and I love it.
Actually, Matt's tremendously successful. He's a young guy. He makes a lot. Matt, I'll tell you what, man. We always talk about this. You're a lot more successful at your age than I ever was. I was still in school, man, trying to get that paper to do what with?
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just
Eric was
unbelievable.
chasing women in frisbees,
Right.
and racking up debt doing it.
About 100 pounds ago. I sure was. I used to be quite a looker.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah,
I've seen pictures. Yeah, he was.
We would throw the frisbee over by good-looking girls, and Eric would run over there with his shirt off and pick it up, and we'd have dates for the night.
Oh my God, I remember those days. With shirt off.
The good old days.
Oh
The
my
shirt
God.
off.
I wear it to the bathroom when I go in the shower now. On the beach, are you kidding me?
The good old days.
Yeah. Well, I discovered food.
Well, we're
Look at you over there. Pretty good shape there, John. Yeah, the nipple thing is too much.
engineering's over there playing with their nipples.
Mike showing his wares.
Probably a good time for a break.
Let's take one. We'll see you in
All
a
right,
minute.
guys, we're going to take your calls at 702-483-4444, and we will be right back.
Hi, this is...
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back on the American Mind Grind, 702-483-4444. And we were kind of talking about schools and how we would like to change those up, and it could be a talk that could go on forever and ever and ever. I would take the challenge. I would run it like a business, and I know that it would be different. I mean, in high school, you're seeing so much crud going on. I mean, did you see the two high school football players that took out the referee in the middle of the game?
Wow.
Yeah, that was
the game?
insane.
The one guy just comes in from the side and takes him out from behind, and the other guy piles on top of him. And I mean, we were talking the other day about a teacher that tried to break up a fist fight.
Yep.
And it was a female teacher and two girls fighting.
Yep.
Did you see that by any chance?
That lady,
Did you see that?
yeah, yes, I did.
Dude,
And
that girl
she
could
throws
throw a
some hooks,
punch.
man. Yeah.
She straight up beat that girl's ass, man. We'll probably provide that for you guys to take a look at. But I mean, wow, that's some crazy video.
She's a
So
scrapper for sure.
now teachers are instructed never to get involved with these fights, guys. They do not want them to be involved. But it was such a beatdown that the girl got involved. The girl teacher did get involved, and this girl decks the other girl, pushes the teacher out of the way, and just decks this chick. And then at one point when she drops the other girl, I mean, she dropped her like a sack of rocks.
Yeah.
The one guy got involved at the very end of the video. He's like, "That enough's enough because you're going to wind up killing this chick."
Right.
I mean, it was an assault, straight up.
The teacher did her best to get in between the two of them, and she did get them to stop fighting for a brief second, and she told the bigger girl, "Get out, just go, just walk away." And the other girl kept swinging, and so she moved the teacher out of the way and then just plowed the girl.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, in my opinion, part of me revamping the school system, and I know I'm going to offend a lot of people by saying this, but we've got to get the nice little sweet lady that lives next door as being a teacher, the prototype teacher. Unfortunately, these days, we need to get ex-military, ex-policemen, more males teaching, pay them more, and I mean those. If Jim Porteous, my buddy Jimmy, steps in between the two of those girls and says, "Stop fighting," you go outside, they're not going to fight.
True.
And
Absolutely
like
true.
you said, they're told not to intervene, but the percentages are going to go way down.
I think, Jeff, you're on to something, but I also suspect that what would be great, what would be ideal, is a mixture of the two. You have so that they're not far away from anything that might go down. You know
Right.
what I mean? Like next door, like maybe every other classroom would have somebody who could get involved with something like that. An ex-military who is always looking for work, always looking for work, would be perfect. You know, you talk about Teacher for America. They'd be great candidates for employment. You know what I mean? And you know, there's something to be said about that for safety. I mean, at the end of the day, it's such a violent society we live in, and we have to be so careful and so aware of our surroundings.
Yeah, you're right. A teacher could carry a panic button. Just keep it in her hand. It holds on
Absolutely.
her pen, the bottom of her pen. There would be a panic button. If she ever hit that, all male teachers come run into her classroom.
We know it's an emergency situation. It has to be assessed, and you have personnel on property that can actually do something physically about it.
The kind of stuff that if I were president that I would bring to the table. Every president steps up, and man, Barack Obama's under my skin. I don't usually complain about politics or whatever because I really don't think anybody can do much when they're in office. But man, this guy's gotten under my skin during his presidency, and something he guaranteed to fix.
Yeah.
When he was, if you go back, here's what I like to do when they're at the end of their term. I like to go back and watch the debates when they got elected.
Yep.
And I laugh. I just laugh every time. I keep it on record on my little thing at the house, and I go back. And if you go back and you watch all the things that Barack Obama promised to fix and didn't, I mean, the kid that did you see the kid that took the bomb to school? Not the bomb, the fake bomb,
The phony bomb?
The phony bomb.
This story is fresh off the press, man. This is just happening like today and yesterday. Ahmad Mohammed,
14-year-old,
comes to school with aesthetically what looks like a bomb. Okay, now he's Middle Eastern in descent, and he shows up to school with what looks like a bomb, and wants to share it with his engineer teacher. It's a faux bomb, so he wanted to shock people with it. Am I correct?
Right.
Right. He's intending to play a prank on people.
Right, and he's just going around to telling all the teachers it's not real. It's not real.
Yeah. Well, one of the teachers actually reported it, and the police came and they detained him and interrogated him and wanted to know why would you bring something that aesthetically looks like a bomb to school? In this day and age, Mr. Ahmad, you have to be aware that there's been some terrible, terrible violence all over the world.
Especially
if you're
in
going to
schools.
come with an electronic device, the only thing that's not in this electronic device is the explosive itself. Well, you can expect that there's going to be somebody that's going to look at it and think it's kind of awkward.
Not Obama.
Not Obama. And I have to say, man, Jeff knows me. I'm not a particularly political-oriented person, and I stay very neutral when it comes to Barack Obama and his administration. But I have to tell you, I was really offended today. They made this kid out to be a hero. This kid is not a hero. He is an absolute moron. I mean, if I was his dad and he came home after all this fiasco that he just caused, man, I wouldn't talk to him for like 6 months.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
I'm curious to know if the dad
knew.
knew, if they even knew what the kid was building. Like
Yeah.
if they saw him leave the house with that, taking it to school, I'd be like, "Whoa, dude!"
Well, from
you
what I
can't take that
read,
to school.
the dad knew he had built this clock, which everyone is calling it a clock,
Right.
because he had worked on all of his dad's electronic gadgets, and he knew he was taking it to school. But I don't think he put two and two together that it's supposed to look like a bomb. Maybe, I don't know.
Well, look at the thing.
Yeah.
If you didn't tell me anything of the story, and I walked in here today to do the show, and it was sitting right there, I would have ran out the door.
Right.
It looks like a bomb. I mean, Eric and I talked, if my kid was at the school, I would have hoped he left school and came home, because that's a threat. And I don't care. We're so soft as a country. The first thing we're going to do is pull the race card. Oh, his name's Ahmed. It's because he's Indian, and you think he had a bomb, and how dare you profile my kid? And if it was a white kid, you wouldn't have done that. Yes, they would have.
Yep. A white kid that comes in with a digital clock that looks like a bomb is going to get interrogated just like a kid that looks Middle Eastern in descent. Let me tell you guys something on a totally personal level. My son's half black. Okay? All my good friends know that. My son is half black. And if he walks into a grocery store or a convenience store, and if he puts his hand in his pocket, you better believe I expect him to probably be interrogated for it.
Absolutely.
You understand what I'm
Absolutely.
saying? And my son's half black, and you know what? I'm not offended by that, because at the end of the day, it's our natural instincts to profile.
Absolutely.
And
Right.
It's a survival instinct.
Everybody on this earth is in some way, shape, or form prejudiced to you, some more than others, clearly. But everyone's a little bit prejudiced from time to time.
Your kid wouldn't do it because you raised him better. your household is different.
I
You
put a lot
prepare
of
them
effort
for the
into
situation.
rearing my
Anyways,
son.
Obama invited the kid to the White House and said we need more people
For
like
Astronomy
you.
Day.
Yeah, the
So
whole country should be
stupid.
run by kids that are socially awkward, that bring bombs to school.
And
Now,
he'll-
let me fast forward this. 4 years from now, little Ahmad, when he's socially outcasted because he's kind of a nerdy-looking little buddy, well, what's going to happen there is all the sensationalism and all this thing, they became so popular
Wear
over this
off.
bombing, he's going to get the real deal and start blowing up real people with it.
We'll bring you
yeah.
this story. We'll stay on this story because in about 3 years we're going to see some boom boom go up. But right now we got a couple callers.
It's Ahmad boom boom time.
Got a couple callers out there. We're going to take. Let's go line one. Alex, you're live on the American Mind Grind.
Hey, first I want to say I think everything about the situation with this kid was handled appropriately. You know, they took him out of class, they arrested him, and then eventually they decided not to press charges. You know, the
Right.
kid is 14 years old. He lacks a lot of common sense that you or I would have, but that's not what gets me going, gets me fired up about this situation. What fires me up is that Obama then reaches out and expresses his condolences via Twitter and invites this kid to the White House.
Exactly.
What I want to know is how many families, how many children of slaughtered and murdered law enforcement officers has Obama invited to the White House?
Terrific point.
Zero.
Right.
Any
Zero.
of them?
Right.
I'm sorry. This kid. What did this kid do that actually warrants being invited to the White House?
He did
Other
something
than do
stupid.
something
He did
stupid
something
as hell? I mean, why are we so apologetic? Why are we so afraid of offending Muslims? I'm sorry, but you know what? I remember watching those Twin Towers come down.
Yep.
Because
I
we're
was
weak.
in 6th grade, and I remember watching those towers come down, and I remember being pissed off. And you know what? Religion of peace, my ass.
Yep. Yeah, I agree with you
You
100%.
have a
You
terrific
said
perspective.
You said it perfectly.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me ask you this, Alex, if you'll indulge me here. What happens if the
Absolutely.
teacher saw this device, didn't report it, and boom, boom, Ahmed time? What do you think happens
No,
there?
absolutely. You know what? Then it's their fault. You know, they keep saying, see something, say something. They say it in the airport. They say it absolutely everywhere. See something, say something. I think the situation was dealt with perfectly. It was, you know, reported to the authorities. Authorities did something about it. Eventually they evaluated the situation, decided the kid wasn't a threat. And I think it was handled perfectly. And for Obama to be so apologetic and, oh, you know what, I'm so sorry that you were treated that way because you're Muslim or because you have the name Ahmed Mohammed, we're going to kiss your ass and invite you to the White House.
Yep.
It's
You're so
bullshit.
right.
We've got American heroes that are being slaughtered on the street, and not one of their families, not one of their kids who they're not coming home to at the end of the night are getting invited to the White House.
That's
Yeah,
a
I
great
think
point.
if anyone in this story should have been invited to the White House, the teacher that blew the whistle probably should have been.
Yeah, that's
Absolutely.
yeah, absolutely.
For being aware of her
Absolutely.
surroundings
And the officers that interrogated this little
right.
freak.
And then and then let
really.
him go.
My whole thing is how many times you hear in the news like 6-year-old Cub Scout brings pocket knife to school and gets suspended for
Right,
the rest
sent
of the
home
year.
for
yeah.
the
How
whole
about
year.
ticking time bomb?
Yeah.
We've got a story that hits real close to home. A good friend of mine, her nephew was in a classroom. A kid brought a gun to school. I don't know what he thought he was doing, show and tell. He was excited about it. Manages to pull the trigger in class, and thankfully nobody was hurt. But I mean, that's a child that I know personally. He could have been on the business end of that gun.
Wow.
Unbelievable. Well, hey, thanks for the call.
Your call
I
was
think
terrific.
the whole
Thank you.
panel agrees with you, and I love that perspective. Thanks for calling in.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. Keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you. So part of Obama's deal today, another thing that got under my skin was, well, let me go back a little bit to her story. I have a story on a teacher who had a similar thing. So I have a teacher who is a friend that was in the school district for almost 25 years. Great teacher, won all kinds of awards. The kids love him. And he was out partying one night at a friend's deal on a party bus, 2 a.m, and they were liquored up, and they're flirting. All the girls are flirting with him, and this and that, and the girls are dancing on the pole in the
Sure.
in the truck,
Having
and,
fun.
Yeah, and he smacks her on the rear end real quick, and she sues him for it, and he gets whatever you get for that,
Right.
sexual assault or whatever.
You're kidding me for
and
something. Okay.
the school district let him go. They fired him.
Wow, after 25 years of service.
Yep.
So we're having a hard time getting good teachers in
Right.
there. Well, why would this, his personal social life, why would it affect what he's doing in the classroom?
Because that's what's on his chart now. He got the check mark.
Oh, you can't be a teacher now
because you had assault charge.
Right.
Oh, wow.
Sexual assault.
So they categorize it instead of looking at the individual event.
Right.
Yeah, that's
right. So I just
pretty
wanted to
neat.
go back a little bit and share
It's a
that
good point.
story.
Yeah, it's a good story.
part of the thing that's happening, that why we're looking for good teachers and who would want to be a teacher. I just don't.
I think you made a pretty valid point earlier, Jeff. You said you would run it as a business.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
in the private sector, you have accountability. In the public sector, you have zero accountability whatsoever. I mean, how many administrators and principals and teachers are cheating on test scores just to get these raises now? They're totally incentivized the wrong way.
Right.
It's absolutely, and there's zero accountability for them. There's none.
So
especially at home,
Right.
That's where the problem begins.
right,
Correct.
you hit him in the pocketbook. If you were saying earlier about the
Yeah.
girl that said "F you" in the classroom,
Yeah, fine 'em.
Well, yeah,
Fine the parents.
have a program where we put you through a psychological evaluation, and
Great point.
we nurse you back to being able to behave yourself in the classroom, and why that's important, because your parents obviously didn't do it,
And the administrative
and it's
fees, the
$100
parents.
fee that the
Yeah.
parents have to pay
Per
if your
session.
kid is coming back to school. Use
Yeah.
the money to give the teachers a raise. That's where I'd start. There's
Yeah.
a million ideas I'd have to raise money.
Well, it's just like
and-
DUI, Jeff. When you get a DUI, you go to alcohol management class,
Right.
and all that stuff,
Right, and you pay for it.
big money for that.
Yeah, and because
Now-
you're afraid to get hit in the wallet, you don't do it again.
Now, if the parents got fined for having her to go to some sort of social counseling, boy, I bet you have a different story. At
Whole
home.
different story.
Whole
correct.
different story.
Or even if she had to stay after a couple hours after school and clean the school or something like that, there has to be accountability.
Right.
Absolutely.
Somewhere.
Absolutely.
So Obama said in the same speech earlier today, they're talking about the debates, which are going on right now as we speak. I can't wait to get home and go and watch the Republican debates. But, the Republicans are saying everything's falling apart. We got to put it together. And Obama came out, he said, and he ran on the same thing, by the way. And he said, everything's fine. What are you talking about? Our country's fine. Well, we're not fine, because I just read a stat that said when it comes to economic freedom, our rank fell to number 16 in the world. And in 2000, we were second.
Wow.
So we are now 16th. And economic freedom is the ability for the greater opportunity to improve quality of life, and the freedom to choose how we produce, sell, and use one's own resources while respecting others' rights to do the same. So that has to do with crime and stuff like that. So it's based on taxes, legal structure, protection of property, access to cash, credit, labor, business. Anyway, we're getting blown out of the water by Hong Kong, UK, Canada, just blow us away. So what that's saying is we don't have the opportunity that we used to have here. If you want to try and get rich and make something yourself, good luck, man, because the middle class has been destroyed. All the money flows up, and everyone's dropping into the lower class, and that's why home invasions are up, robberies are up. We talk all the time, like, is a plane crash really a big deal? How many people do you know died in a plane crash?
Oh, it's such a small amount. Nobody.
Nobody. I don't know anybody. Do you?
No.
I've never known
No.
anyone.
Like, everyone I ask, well, how many people do you know died in a plane crash? Nobody ever says anything. Well, how many people do you know that was in a home invasion or have been robbed or this? 1 million people. We
That's
all
right.
do. It's happened to us. Well, one of the guys I played baseball with was sleeping in his house. His child is sleeping in the other room, and he wakes up to a gun in his head. And they say, where's all your belongings? And we're going to take this and this, and if you cooperate, you're not going to get hurt. And there's one guy going through his closet, and he's like, listen, there's a safe in my closet. And they go in there, and they can't see anything. And he says, there's a light by the safe. And the guy in the closet goes, what did he say? And the guy that had the gun to his head turns to the closet, and he says, there's a light, there's a light. And when he saw that he wasn't looking, he took the gun from the guy.
Nice.
And he points it at him, tells him to get down, holds him down until the guy comes out of the closet. The guy comes out of the closet, puts the gun on him. He's got this guy down on his knees, puts a gun on him. Anyways, long story short, he gets them in the swimming pool, and he holds them until the cops come and arrest them.
Wow.
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 Very good restraint not shooting both
Now,
of them.
Jeff and I
he was
had a
clearly
long-
within the parameters of the law. He could have capped them
Absolutely.
both.
We had a
Absolutely.
long conversation about this. Jeff, can you please enlighten people on the percentage of fatality if you're home at a time of a home invasion? What's your percentage of living and dying?
Well, he said in the news story it's 50-50. It's a coin toss.
It's a 50-50 chance.
Wow.
So the notion that we shouldn't have guns and that good law-abiding citizens should not have weapons at home that will protect their families in the event of a home invasion. So if somebody breaks into your home, guys, and you don't have that weapon to protect you and your family, you got a 50-50 shot that they don't just straight kill you. Oh, and what was the frequency of home invasions currently in America?
We're number one. We lead the world with it.
Every 13
one happens
seconds?
every 13 seconds.
One happens
So,
every 13 seconds. in
wow.
America.
And then you get thrown in jail, and you hope that there's a stupid lady there to help you get out of jail.
Yes, you do. And she's there.
And she's there.
And she brings you a wrecking ball.
Yeah.
And she brings you a crane and a bulldozer and gets you out.
You
helps
paint her a
out.
few pictures.
Well, the boys are referring to that story up in New York.
Joyce Mitchell.
Joyce Mitchell, the world's dumbest woman.
By far.
Listen to Joyce Mitchell's story. Well, let's go ahead and fill you in here. She works at the tailor shop at Clinton Correctional Facility. She becomes friends with 2 inmates. Now, this isn't a correctional facility like, where they play Tai Chi and stuff like that and they hang out. She became first friends with Richard Matt. Now, Richard Matt, he had a problem with his boss. Cut his boss up in a whole bunch of little pieces, spread them in New York, you know what I'm saying? Nice guy.
Yeah.
Nice guy.
Yeah.
Stand-up guy.
And he fled to Mexico, did a couple kills down there, and then they finally found him in a manhunt. And then her other best buddy is David Sweat. Now, he shot a sheriff's deputy 15 times to death. Isn't that something? So she becomes friends. She says her husband doesn't love her anymore, this bullshit, and this and that. So she becomes friends with these 2 morons, and then she starts bringing them cookies and brownies. And then one of the 2 of them are like, hey, tomorrow instead of cookies and brownies, I was thinking about snacking on something else, like maybe like a star-shaped drill bit.
Yeah.
Did you bring me one of those? I'm just wondering, and a wrecking ball and a crane would be great because we play in the yard. Yeah. And in the yard we use all this stuff in playtime. We're not thinking about busting out or anything.
We're not
like
trying to
that,
escape.
We just want to have fun, with the other guys. Maybe do some sandcastles or something.
Right.
Right.
Well, she was sleeping with both of them too.
Well, no, that changed. Allegedly, she was banging everybody. But the thing is after Richard Matt was shot and killed 3 weeks later, man.
Yeah.
3 weeks later, then she changed her story. Oh, I wasn't banging any of them. He forced himself upon me and put my head close to his genitals, but I never performed any type of sexual act with him and this and that. Well, here's the skinny, and here's my perspective on this, and I want people to know this before we have to leave you guys tonight. As a result of this, she's facing 7 years as the maximum penalty she can get on this thing, letting 2 murderous, villainous son of bitches out of jail to go on a killing spree or a potential killing spree to convicted murderers. And it also cost John Q. taxpayer $27 million this manhunt for 3 weeks to catch these guys. And the most she's going to get is 7 years, which for good time is 3.5 years. They're not even going to give her the 7 years. They might give her 2 years.
Right, probation.
Or something like that, and she'll do a year or something like that.
Right, then she'll get out and write a book and be a millionaire.
In my opinion, she should be looking at a 20-year sentence for what she had done. What she did was straight criminal. What happens if those 2 murderous son of bitches get out and start going on a killing spree? Now, they were going in and out of cabins in upper state New York that were empty. What happens if the homeowner's open or are there?
That's on her hands. They kill him, and that's on her hands. She got blood on her hands.
She is, as far as I'm concerned, that would be attempted murder with a deadly weapon or attempted whatever.
Well, the original plan was for them to kill her husband, too.
Right. Oh, good. Then we're going to live happily ever after. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, hey, thanks for tuning in, and we will see you next week.
Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes another show. As we adjourn here tonight, we'll leave you with this beautiful song to help calm your nerves. As you fall asleep, think of all you've heard on tonight's program. Try to relax and let all thoughts become one. Remember, your brain is a muscle and you must exercise it. Practice logical thinking, and for God's sakes, man, be kind to each other. Good night, and thank you for listening to the American Mind Grind.